Hi, my name's Noah Grayson. Um, I'm here to talk about my little conducting equation that I made called the three C's and the secret fourth letter, that's an S. Um, this is basically something that you need to keep in mind whenever you're doing a conducting routine, um, whenever you're developing your conducting throughout the season, whenever you want to add new things to your style, put new things into your show, conducting wise. Um, you want to make sure that you have all of these in mind. At least this is what I did, not exactly in these steps, but it sort of turned out to become these steps in the end. I drum majored for 2 years, fairly decent. I made some pretty good pupils, if I do say so myself. Um, and I taught them this, and I used this, and I developed, this sort of equation throughout the singular symposium I went to. And my 2 years of drum majoring a very, very characteristic band, very interesting band. These are the ways that I helped myself, because we didn't have too much help back in my band. So let's talk about what the three C's are. We have communication, consistency, and clarity. So, communication. You want to make sure that all of your movements communicate something to the band. You don't want to put in a cue somewhere where it's not needed. For example, trumpets are on it, right? They know their shit. They know what they're doing. Why are you putting a cue there? They know they're supposed to come in. But if woodwinds are struggling, it's a difficult part. They have a lot of different things going on. They're moving and they're also playing. They need a reminder that they're going to crescendo. Or we're adding something that the band director added last minute, day of, and you also have a competition. You want to also convey that crescendo, decrescendo, sforzando. Is that the right word? You want to communicate that because some things like that they don't have committed to memory, and that's important to have. Next thing we have is consistency. Whenever we're doing our conducting pattern, whenever we are doing a cutoff, whenever we're doing crescendos, decrescendos, whenever we're doing anything musically in our conducting, we want to make sure that it's consistent. There can be varied versions of your crescendo or your decrescendo or your cue in your show. For example, if you have a say like a marcato first movement and it's all very poignant, and the marching is it's kind of like more of a stiff vibe going on, and then you go into a nice what do you call it, a more melodical second movement where it's very smooth and quiet, and it swells and it unswells. You want to make sure it's consistent for that segment. And when there's a lot of different changes in the music under a short amount of time, we're just going to want to keep a consistent sort of pattern or set of tools there as to not confuse the band. For example, if we're having like two measures of a really strong moment, we're getting really big, and then boom, measure of silence. And then we do a very melodical part for a few measures, and then we throw out some cues like this and boop and stuff like that. And then we go back into it. We might just want to go big pattern for the big forte moments, and then for the piano moments, just do a smaller pattern. But stay the same, and then go back to a big pattern, you know? We want to stay consistent. And consistency not only means for your style, but it also means for how you conduct. Okay, so let's go over conducting real quick. I have this little thing. It's a little backwards, I think, but you get the idea. First one is your downbeat. Then that's 2, 3, 4. I kind of wrote it backwards on that, but I will visually show it. So we got 1, and your downbeat needs to be the highest. It's the part that you're most likely emphasizing the most every time, and it also keeps the band in step way easier. So we're keeping a strong downbeat, and then we're going to go half as high for the second beat of the measure, if it's in 4/4, of course. And then third beat, we go in, hit our ictus point, which is just the place that you hit consistently if you are uninformed about that. It's the place where your hands always hit. Pretend your ictus point is like a planet, and it's like drawing your hands in with its gravitational field. And that kind of helps the band understand, because that's just how the mind works. That's how the mind works. We understand it better if it's like falling, like we're dribbling a basketball. We can predict how the beat is and the BPM and shit like that. And then we also have clarity, which, you know, all three of these are very similar, but they're kind of different aspects of the same sort of idea, right? So we want to be clear. Clear also comes into consistency and communication. Clarity is the right communication. You're communicating it well. You're communicating the right thing. And it's also consistency. You're understanding exactly what's happening because it's consistent, because it isn't changing every measure, you know? And a way to check your clarity, you run it by your co-drum major, or drum majors, and you also run it by the lead snare. If you don't have a lead snare, whoever in percussion is also driving the beat, whether it be like a drum set or whatnot, run it by them so they can, because their input's also good, because the band gets the visual from you, but they're getting the audio cues for where the music is from them. And it's important that you two, you and the lead snare or drum set or what have you, are in the same sort of mindset, that you two are on the same page. Because if you're not, then there's going to be a kind of dissonance where visually it's not going how it's sounding. You two are kind of fighting, and you're like the fighting parents, and the kids are in the middle, like, Mom, Dad, stop fighting. So yeah, that's the basis of clarity. And now we're going to the secret fourth letter, sauce. You don't want to be bored. No one likes being bored. And when you're conducting the same show for an entire season, if you're just doing a basic pattern, a consistent 4/4 for the entire show, that's boring for you, I bet. So if you want to stretch your creative muscles, you add your own little sauce into it. You add your own little style for a melodical part. You add your own little quirks for a very big fortissimo part. You add some stuff in for a solo or soli, or a what do you call it? It's a section sort of deal, feature. Yeah, a feature. Whether you want to convey that, whether the band is going in halftime, you'll want to, add something for yourself to kind of make it so you're in your mind, you know where you are in the band, like in the show. And also it's just good for you to make it so it's not boring. And also when you add these different things, it's just good for your brain too. Changing up your pattern to be more flowy, changing up your pattern to be more kind of like spiky, marcato, or changing your pattern to be more wide, for a more kind of orchestral type deal. Changing it to be a tighter pattern and a smaller pattern for any piano moments. Putting the old hand behind the back or hand on the stomach for any features or solos. All of these different things are optional, but they are cool things to add into your routine that kind of make you stand out against other drum majors. Anyways, yeah, so this is the conducting equation. I hope you liked my video. I hope the quality isn't that bad. Thank you. Bye-bye.